All right, this is take 4. The first take, I put the microphone here, but my necklace was like smacking on it. Next take, I put it here, but then my chin kept hitting it. So I've decided just to hold it. And the reason for this video being a little bit different to usual is because I usually do a daily vlog. And I did vlog the last 4 days, but the last 4 days the last 2 days, but the last 2 days were really boring. I just worked and drank coffee. So I vlogged it, but it's not very entertaining. I think that this might be more entertaining, and this was a video that I've been thinking to do for a little bit. So let's get into it. This video is called My Life in Paragraphs. And I read somewhere once, I don't remember if it was like a self-help thing or whatever, but it said to write down everything that you've done in your life and then to read it every now and then, and just to kind of remind yourself of all the different versions of yourself that you've ever been. And of course, everybody knows their life more than everybody else, but I know for my life specifically, I've been so many different characters, you'd say, in this game of life. I've been a sports guy, I've tried to be a music guy, I've been a traveler guy, I've been a money guy, I've been a business guy, I've been a not knowing what the fuck's going on kind of guy. I've been many different things in my life, many different characters. And so it's really interesting for me, at least, to read my own story back. So it was about 6 months ago that I first wrote the first version of this. It was like split your life up into chapters. And then what I kept doing was I just kept reading it all the time, and I just kept remembering things. Oh, yeah, I met that person. That was really impactful. Or I did this. That was really impactful. And then I even started adding like songs to certain periods. So certain periods of my life, there are songs that I really remember from that period. I don't know if songs is a thing specifically for me that reminds me of a time, but obviously I do know. Actually, yeah, that's very true. Maybe for other people, it's smell or it's people or it's whatever, the cold or the warmth or whatever. But for me, it's songs. And so, anyway, so my life in paragraphs is my life split up in different things, and I thought this might be entertaining. There's a lot of people that I know that watch my Instagram stuff and my YouTube stuff that have absolutely no idea about anything I've ever done because they met me in the last couple of months or the last couple of years. So I just thought this might be interesting. So the first chapter of my life is from 1996 to 2001, age 0 to 5. I lived in a little place called Dundas as a kid, and I had a very lovely childhood, very, very positive upbringing. I think that honestly, I think I was one of the. I don't think a kid can be more lucky than I was. I was extremely healthy. I never had any issues. I once went to the hospital because it was extreme pain. I was in extreme pain because of my stomach, and everybody thought I was dying, and I was crying for hours. And then all I needed to do was do a poop. And then every single time I ever got sick after that, as soon as I said, "Mom, I feel sick," she just said, "Go and do a poop." Even if it was a headache, it didn't make sense. Anyway, so yeah, I had a really lovely childhood. The first 5 years of my life, all I remember doing was running around, climbing things, being a kid, and obviously being a kid, um, and just having a dog. And I get told all the time now from family and stuff that I used to climb a lot. I just climbed everything. First chapter of my life, 0 to 5. Next chapter was 2001 to 2004. This is the age 5 to 8 years old. I went to a school called Dundas Public School. Shout out Dundas. No, just joking. And I got introduced to the wonderful game of soccer or football. And I was extremely active as a kid, again, just climbing everything I could and just spent a lot of time with family and friends. And I remember being quite popular. Obviously, not like a massive extent, but I remember like all the teachers knew me and all of the students in grades above me and below me sort of knew me. Maybe it was because of an interesting name that I had, which was Conrad. I had long hair, which was a bit different, and I was very sporty, and I was very social. And I don't think it was like obviously as a kid you just are what you are, and so it was just a natural thing. I was very social, but I remember not really giving a shit about much except for sport. I just played sport all the time. Next chapter is 2004 to 2008, which is from the age of 8 to 12. I moved from the little suburb, you would say, of Dundas, and I moved to a new suburb called North Rocks, and I went to North Rocks Public School. Dundas, at the time I didn't know this because I was a kid, but Dundas was more of like a, not ghetto, but more of like a lower middle class, and North Rocks is more of an upper middle class. So it kind of like went from kind of grungy feeling Dundas to more of like the hills area in Sydney, Australia, which is like lovely and nice and safe and protected. And it was a bit of a shock because I remember just being like, these people are boring. I'm just joking. But I remember thinking like, yeah, the people are different, definitely. Anyway, I played a lot of soccer for a team called Redbacks, Carlingford Redbacks. And then I played for Gladesville Hornsby, which is a higher level division. And I just remember enjoying lots of high school. My best friend was this guy called Matt, and Danish and Jai. Matt was probably the closest, and he went to another school. And then Danish and Jai, my two closest friends at school. And then the four of us ended up being good friends for like a decade or so. And we're still good friends now, but like close friends for quite a long time. And again, just super active. Now, the songs from the previous period, from 5 to 8, was I'm Still Here by John Reznick. And then Hippo in the Bathtub by Anne Murray.
You better come quick, cause there's a hippo in the bathtub.
As a kid, my mum used to play Anne Murray a lot. The next chapter, which is the one I just talked about, the songs is Tub Thumb Bing by Chumbawamba, which is like, I get knocked down, but I get up again. You ain't ever gonna hit me down.
I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down, but I get up again. You're never gonna keep me down. I get knocked down.
And remember the name, Fort Minor. Bum, ba-da-da-da-da-da.
You ready? Let's go.
Next chapter is 2008 to 2010, age 13 to 14, early days of high school. This is where life punched me square in the face. So I decided to quit soccer after how many years? Maybe 8 years or so, and 7 years. And I started to hit the gym a bit, but I quit soccer to focus on golf. I remember I joined a team in which I didn't really have a connection with the players. They put me in a position on the field in which I didn't like. I was always attacking, and then they put me in defense. I didn't like it. I didn't like the team, and I started playing golf because I saw this guy on a golf course just smash the shit out of the ball. And I thought, that looks so fun. And golf is so independent. It's just like, it's up to me. And I believed in myself to be able to do what I wanted to do as a professional sports person. And I thought, you know what? Golf is just, I take it. It's mine. No one can fuck with me. You're not going to get injured as well. So, and the songs of that era was Cold Wind Blows by Eminem.
'Cause some things just don't change.
Levels by Skrillex. And Sexy and I Know It by LMFAO.
When I walk on by, girls be looking like Debbie Fly. I pimp to the beat, walking down the street and I knew the freak, yeah.
What a time, eh? I'm just thinking of some people. Shout out Cade. Who else? Shout out Forrest. Shout out Luke Lonsdale. These motherfuckers, bruh, they owned that period. All right, 2010 to 2012, age 15 to 16. Finished off my last 2 years of high school. Got some confidence back because of the gym. So yeah, for a couple of years, I was really lonely. I remember just thinking like, I don't play soccer, so I don't have that crowd anymore. And then I started going to golf, and I was no good at it for the first like year or so. And so I wasn't good at the thing I was doing all the time, and I didn't know many people because I just started. And I remember I went through kind of a rebellious period. I was stealing golf balls and stealing shirts and stealing all this stuff. And so I got in a bit of trouble. I remember at one point thinking like, nobody in the world likes me. I remember a specific moment, I was just like, damn, like nobody. My friends and I were arguing. My sister and I just always butted heads a lot. I remember my family, of course they loved me, but like I was just irritating to everybody in the whole world. So that was a kind of shitty time. But then I started hitting the gym and I got some confidence back because like I looked good and everyone was like, holy shit, you actually kind of look good. And yeah, then because of golf, I just playing golf a lot and decided to finish school when I was just before I turned 16, maybe just after I turned 16. grade 10, we say. And around this time, I got introduced into drinking and smoking a little bit of marijuana. And I finished off school and I went to the Sunshine Coast with my friend right as I finished school. This was 2012, at the end of it, when everyone thought the world was going to explode in 2012. And the song of that period was Set Fire to the Rain by Adele. What a fucking banger. Anyway, 2013, age 16 and 17, I played golf at a place called Castle Hill Country Club, and then I quit in September or so to get a job at a place called Coco Cafe. What a place. So yeah, I played golf for like 7 months, 8 months, every day, all day. And I remember just being so lonely and bored. And I remember thinking, okay, do I want to play golf for the rest of my life, like every single day? It took me a long time to make that decision, but I did end up deciding no. And I do think that that was the right decision. I definitely think I could have made at least a decent level in golf as a professional golfer. But at the same, physically I could have, but mentally I couldn't because I wasn't dedicated enough to the sport to dedicate my whole life to it. I just wanted variety. I remember thinking like, I want to get lost in the world. I want to like go and try things and be in weird places and stuff. I don't want to be just doing this one thing of golf. The songs of that period were I'm the Man, Aloe Black. I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
I'm the man, I'm the man, I'm the man.
Cool. 2014, age 17 and 18, I spent 9 months with my girlfriend called Jackie. We smoked a lot of weed together. I went to TAFE, studied some business, and I worked in multiple cafes, broke up with Jackie, went to the US and Europe with my family for like a holiday, and smoked even more weed. There was quite a lot of weed at this. Every Friday and Saturday, we just basically got high as we could. And then I got a job at a place called Oscorp later in that year. The songs of that period were High Hopes by Codaline. I got high hopes.
When you let it go out and start again.
What a song. And Stay High. Anyway, 2015, age 18 and 19. I worked at this company called Oscorp. I met this incredible guy called Patrick. I dated this incredible woman called Julie. And I worked my ass off selling. I literally sold for 6 days straight. And on the Sunday, I would get ready for the next day. I just worked like a mofo. Knocking doors, commission only. I remember taking MDMA for the first time, and it opened my mind up to quitting my job at Oscorp, where I basically, when I was 18, all I wanted to do was buy a big house in Sydney, have a couple of nice Porsches, get married young and have kids. And then I remember taking MDMA, and on the trip, I was like, do I really want that? I don't know if I really want that. So then I doubted it. And then all of a sudden, everything just kind of fell apart. I went to the Gold Coast with my friend Patrick. I moved into a hostel for a month or so in my own city. I was in a hostel. I broke up with Julie before going to the Gold Coast. And I wrote my first ever song called Fame. I got a job at this place called The Canopy. I moved in with Patrick to a place called The Connaught, and I had my first experience feeling extremely lost and confused. And to top it all off, my dog died. The dog that I had had since I was about 3. So the shittest time in my life by far up until that moment. I'd gone through a shitty breakup, feeling very, very lost, very confused. I was completely financially broke, no idea who the fuck I was. I was 18, 19, and my dog died. It was fucked. Shit. Songs of that time, Cheerleader. Oh, I think that I found myself a cheerleader. Ego by Kanye West and Beyonce. Fucking Problems by A$AP Rocky. Guts Over Fear by Eminem. And 7 Years by Lucas Graham. I'm here in Cordoba in Argentina, and it's just loud people all over the place. 2016, age 19 and 20, I lived with Patrick at the Connaught, and I worked at this cafe called The Canopy. I did that for about 4 months, and then I started reading this book called The Power of Now. I went to Byron Bay with my friend Debbie. I went to Gold Coast, who's now called Marley. I went to the Gold Coast and chilled with 2 English girls. Then I went to, I don't know why I mentioned that. I guess we chilled for like a week or so yeah, that's kind of cool. Went to New Zealand. I had an incredible spiritual moment, which is I have a tattoo right here. Let me show. This tattoo represents an incredible spiritual moment I had in my life, which was still the most incredible moment I've ever had. I just had a moment of enlightenment. I don't know, bliss, nowness. Something happened, and it was unbelievable. Just retarded. I still can't stop thinking about it. It's crazy. Ironically, because it was just 10 seconds of no thinking. Anyway, I wrote some more music. I started to think, damn, maybe I'm getting into music. I returned to Sydney thinking about pursuing music, and I worked in audiovisual for a company called Vision X. I hung out with a girl from Chile called Camilla, and then I was so sick and tired of my situation that I moved to Melbourne. I sold my car, moved to Melbourne, and which is another city in Australia for those of you who aren't from there, and basically quit everything and just moved there. And then I just remember walking around for like 2 weeks, and I was still so affected by that moment of enlightenment or whatever you call it, that I just spent weeks walking around in this new city, like not looking for a job, not looking for anything, just walking around. I ended up getting a job at a place called Plus Five. I lived with a group of people from England, from Leeds, and I just remember being super lonely and lost. Like, I had people around me all the time at work, and I lived with like heaps of people in this house in Melbourne, but always super lost and lonely as fuck. A lot of soul searching, and then I ended up taking a loan, saying that I was going to buy a car, and I took a $10,000 loan, and then I bought tickets to go to Thailand, Brazil, and then the UK, and I got my visa accepted to live in the UK for 2 years, live and work there. Songs of that period was On My Way by Phil Collins,
Tell everybody I'm on my way.
Good Life which by One Republic,
It's gotta be good life.
Go Gentle by Robbie Williams,
Go gentle through your life.
and Crazy by Niles Barkley.
I remember when I lost my mind.
So yeah, 2016 was crazy. Trump got elected in that year. I remember Conor McGregor was massive in that year. He just started really blowing up. And yeah, it was just, for me personally, it was just a crazy year. Just lost all the time. 2017, age 20 to 21, back to Sydney for January. I went to Thailand for 2 weeks. I went to Brazil for Carnival for 6 weeks. And I met my friend Lucas, and we went to, and then I went to Chile and hung out with Camilla. Went to Viña del Mar and a desert. I went camping in the desert of Chile, which was amazing. And then I arrived in London with a 2-year visa in March. I went to Edinburgh for a week or so, and then I came back to Australia with a goal of saving $50,000. I came back to Australia because I had all sorts of health issues going on because of Brazil. Brazil just completely fucked me up because I went too hard on everything. I had an eye infection. I was limping. I think I had something wrong with a toe of mine. One of my toes was messed up on my knee or something. I was extremely skinny and a couple other things. But yeah, I was in a bad shape. I was in a bad way. Went back to Australia, and I remember thinking, damn, I just need cash, right? Like, I'm just never being cashed up. So I was like, I'm just going to work 2 jobs until I have $50K in the bank. So I started working 2 jobs, one as a furniture removalist and one as a barista. So furniture removal by day and barista / cafe type manager by night. And I kept saving, got myself out of debt and kept saving, just lived with my parents very humbly. And then I met this guy. He used to get coffee off me, and he said, like, he was a South African guy, Louis. And Louis was like, Conrad, what are you doing with your life? And I said, trying to save money. He's like, you can make a lot more money in the railway. You should come to the work in the railway. And I didn't believe him. But then he just kept pitching me on this idea. So I was like, fuck it, I'll give it a go. So I got qualified in the railway, and I started working in the railway. And there was a girl at that period, but just for privacy's sake, I'm not going to mention her name, but she probably knows who she is. We hung out for a couple of years, 4 years. Songs of that period, Despacito by Luis Fonsi.
Despacito, quiero respirar tu cuello despacito.
Shaky Shaky by Daddy Yankee.
Shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it, shake it.
Hola a Explosao by MC Kevin. Hola a Explosao.
Olha a explosão quando ela bate com a bunda no chão, quando ela mexe com a bunda no chão.
Baile de Favela.
Elisa Maria é baile de favela, invasão é baile de favela.
You can see the Latin influence that 2017 hit me with. And Privacy by Chris Brown, and I Think of You by Jeremiah and Chris Brown. So
Hey, you got without a tied up skirt. Get that ass in the bed, I'm allowed to do. Shake that ass like boom, chakalaka, boom, chakalaka. Baby, can you giving me the sweet talk? Loves up and down. It's like living on a seesaw. Baby, why you blaming me for?
yeah, I definitely got hit by the Latin bug that year. Before that year, I arrived in Brazil. I didn't even know that they spoke Portuguese. I thought they spoke Brazilian. And I got there, I was like, what the hell is going on? Brazil definitely impacted me a lot. 2018, I worked 6 days a week as a PO, which is a protection officer, the job in the railway. And I met another girl. I saved about $30,000, and then I was writing a bunch of music. I went to Europe, and then I fell in love with Barcelona and Ibiza. I went to France. I met a group of cool people in France. I went to the Netherlands. I went to Germany. I went to Copenhagen. I went to London. And then I decided to come back to Australia with a business opportunity that I'd been pitched. Came back to Sydney with about $20,000 or so. I immediately moved into a house in Bronte Beach. And I started learning Spanish and doing music right at the end of that year. So it was about the end of 2018. I started doing Spanish, and I wrote a couple of songs, and I was back to 6 days a week working. And I met a girl from Colombia called Laura, who ended up breaking my heart. And so yeah, that was a big year. Went to Europe, had a great time, came back, moved into a house. And that I remember thinking like, okay, am I going to pursue money, or am I going to pursue things that I really want to get good at? Two things I really wanted to get good at was making music, and I also wanted to get good at speaking Spanish. So I prioritized those two things. The songs of that year, it's funny because I just skipped over that year, but that was a big year. I went all around the world and saved a bunch of cash and wrote a lot of music and whatever. Anyway, 100 Grandkids by Mac Miller.
Made a promise to my mama that I'll bless her with some grandkids.
Don't Mind by Ken Jones.
Hola, ¿cómo está? She said konnichiwa.
And Amor Fora by Bad Bunny.
No quiero que más nadie me hable de amor, ya me cansé.
The man. I've been listening to Bad Bunny for like, 5 years now? 5.5 years. Damn. 2029, age 22 to 23, I lived at Bronte. I worked 6 days a week as a PO. I dated and lived with Laura, who ended up breaking my heart. I learned music and studied Spanish a lot. I went to a place called the Artist Studio, which helped me become better at producing music. I met and worked with a couple of people in the music industry in Sydney, and I met Kid Leroy, which was pretty cool, well before he blew up. I split with Laura. I did a trip up to Byron, Nimbin, and Gold Coast, which is some cities in Australia. I came back keen on football or soccer again. I thought that I was going to have like one last pursuit at soccer, but after a couple of months, I was like, yeah, no, my body can't handle this. I hung out with a specific girl for a lot of times, and I started to really make some decent music. So I started to write some songs that people started thinking was quite good.
Share your flows with me, let me know.
I dipped my toes into Amazon FBA because I was like, I'm sick of being broke, so I needed a business opportunity. So I started dipping my toes in selling stuff on Amazon, and then I moved out of my beautiful apartment at the beach and moved into a van, into a furgoneta. Silly idea. In the middle of summer, and I worked at night, so I had to be in the van at night. It was stupid. And at the end of the year, I went to Bali and Thailand with my friends Jai and Danish, my longtime friends. The songs from that year are Calma by Pedro Capo and
Vamos pa la playa, pa curarte el alma.
Furuko. Summer's End by Hiroshi Yamazaki, which is still my favorite piano song of all time. Play it at my funeral if I die young. Pa Me by Ozuna and Tory Lanez, For Me by Tory Lanez, I Sit by Tory Lanez, Dirty Money by Tory Lanez, 48 Floors by Tory Lanez, and Girl of My Dreams by Chris Brown. So yeah, that year I discovered Tory Lanez. 2020, age 23 and 24, 2 weeks in Bali with Thailand with Danish and Jai. I came back to Sydney, living at home with mum and dad and working 6 days a week. I tried drop shipping a little bit. COVID hit. I had a big LSD trip in an Airbnb. It was a huge LSD trip. I've never done. I think at that time that was the first time I'd ever done it. Yeah. Now I've done it like 3 times, but that shit hit hard. I bought a car. I made a lot of money. I just worked 6 days a week, living at home with no expenses. Superannuation. I just took out like $20,000 in superannuation because of COVID. I moved into a place in Olympic Park, my own apartment, and I continued learning Spanish and making some good music. And I wrote about 10 songs or so that year. And I went hard into soccer for a couple of months. I played for a place called Apia Leichhardt. I worked full time, and then I went to Coolangatta in September. I played 7-a-side soccer. Decided that I wanted to move up to Gold Coast after going up to Coolangatta with my friend Tomas, and moved out of Olympic Park. Went to Tweed Heads late December. Met a girl called Catalina, and I had New Year's Eve, New York. New Year's Eve in Byron Bay. So that was a big year, yeah. That was definitely big. But yeah, towards the end of that year, I just thought, I actually wanted to go overseas. I had enough money to go overseas, which is what I'm doing now. But because COVID hit, yeah, we couldn't even leave the bloody house. So there was no going overseas. Songs of that period was You Can't Always Get What You Want by Rolling Stones.
You can't always get what you want.
For No One by the Beatles.
Your day breaks, your mind aches. You find that all her words of kindness linger on when she no longer needs you.
Spoil My Night by Post Malone. Me Gustas Tu by Manu Chao. And Days Without You, Cross and Remix. Shout out Tarso. 2021, aged 24 to 25. Moved to Gold Coast late January with about $20,000. Lived with the Vecchies, my friend Tomas and Tarso, for 3 weeks at Tweed Heads. Got my place at Tarcoola, which is a place in Surfers Paradise. Discovered Bonsai Cafe, greatest cafe of all time. Smoked a lot of weed. Enjoyed Gold Coast a lot. I was extremely lazy and extremely unproductive. Did a bit of Spanish and music, but not much. Learned a bit of salsa and bachata, but not too much. Tried to start a marketing agency, but barely. Was going to Bonsai Cafe a lot, and got a job in like some, what was it called? Like investment firm place, and I was just doing sales, but I hated it. I started learning a lot about crypto. I met a beautiful girl, and I moved in with a friend called Michael, and I got into crypto a lot. I went to Airlie Beach. Oh. Sup, dog? Yo, can I call you? Can I call you back? I'm just recording a video.
Oh yeah, bro. I just got Felice as well.
Wait, you're on record, so whatever you say is gonna go on YouTube.
Oh wait.
Yeah.
Oh wait.
Yeah, give me a call back. All right, ciao, bro. Bye. That's the Mac life. What a G. Anyway, moved in with my friend Michael. Got really into crypto. I went to the Whitsunday Island to Airlie Beach and stopped in Mackay for a night. Wrote a song called One Night Like a Dream. You can imagine what happened that night. I hung out with this wonderful girl that I met in Gold Coast a lot. I brought up a dog called Caesar. I started working in a job with a guy called Liam as an appointment setter and a closer, and then I spent Christmas in Sydney with that lovely girl that I met, and New Year's Eve at Gold Coast with that girl. Songs of that year was Telepatia by Kali Uchis.
You know I'm just a flight away. If you wanted, you could take a private plane.
A Primeira Vista, Chico Cesar, Extravagant Bullshit, Nunchucks, Tory Lanez, Sina, Dejvan, and this is just the intro, Tory Lanez, Nostalico by Raul Alejandro and Chris Brown, Wine by B. Young, Lady of Denmark, Tory Lanez, The Serve It album, Tory Lanez, Sad Girls Love Money remix, Caliuchis, 87 Stingray, Tory Lanez, and Cuando a Contagie Bater, BK Delas. 2022, age 25, 26, January and February was at Michael's house. I moved back to Sydney. I worked as a closer for this guy called Liam and did POing with plans to go to Mexico. I wrote a couple of good songs. I got into a relationship with the girl that I had met 9 months earlier. We went to the Blue Mountains. We had a beautiful trip together. We went to Gold Coast for a couple of weeks, and I moved back to Sydney after Gold Coast, and then I went to live in Gold Coast with this girl who was my girlfriend at the time. We lived together for about 3 months. I quit the job, and then I started working at some other place. I bought tickets for Spain and for 6 months ahead because I was just kind of going crazy. I was like, I hate living in Australia. It's so funny because it's such a dream for so many people, but I just needed to get out of there. So I ended my relationship. I bought a ticket to go to Spain for 6 months' time, and I went back to Sydney with the plan on just saving as much money as I could before I went to Spain. And that's pretty much it. I just ended the year just working my butt off. And the songs for that year was Quiereme Así by Nanpa Básico, 1,000 Miles by the Kid Laroi, Toast by Coffee, Waves by Russ, and Golden by Russ. Then that brings us to the year 2023, this year, age 26 and now 27. I lived with my parents for January, February, and March while I was working full-time, and I was just saving a bunch of money. I transferred the tickets from March until April, give me an extra month. I went to Perth to see my friend Tomas, who just had a baby called Luna. I learned a lot about my weaknesses in life, which was like caffeine, fast food, and I really started focusing on like app blocking. I know this sounds kind of stupid, but like app blocking is incredibly cool. I organized my digital life a lot by using the app Notion, and now it's so funny. I'm reading this on Notion, and my entire life is on Notion. Like Notion is the G-est of apps. I organized my digital life a lot. I moved into a place called Woolloomooloo with a dog called Jaeger on April 4th. My ex-girlfriend came to Sydney for Easter long weekend, and we had a really nice weekend together. I arrived in Spain I sold my car, I sold everything. I arrived in Spain in April. I moved in with my two friends, Steve and Noe Stoe. They are together. Went to Marbella and met up with an old friend and decided to get into the business that he's in, which I'm still in now. I moved into a place called Torremolenos. I started my agency. I hung out with a girl called Marta. I moved in with a dog called Odie. I hung out with Kai for a lot. He lived with me for a few weeks. Daichi as well. And then I flew to Colombia, spent a week with my ex and her parents, and we drove from Cali to Medellin. I spent a month in Miami with Daichi and Elijah and Justin. Anyway, I spent a month in Miami and then moved to a place called Tampa, which is much nicer, established my position in the company, and I started vlogging daily. And that was about a month ago. And then the last thing is I moved to Argentina and I started living, and I met and lived with MacLife. And not lived with for like 2 days, we lived in the same place, but then we started getting separate places just close to each other. And now I'm here. I went from Buenos Aires to now I'm in Cordoba. And now you're watching this video, and I'm here. And the date is the 27th of September, 2023. I'm 27 years old. Now, the plan moving forward is to stay in Argentina for another month or two, go back to Australia for Christmas and my best friend's wedding in January. And then from there, who the fuck knows? Nobody knows. Not even me. I have no idea. I think I will come back to South America. Everything is better in South America, except for the safety. I'm more interesting in general than in Australia. I'm just different. I walk around and people are like, he's cool, he's different, he speaks English, it's nice. Then everything is cheaper. The people are more beautiful physically. And the weather's nice. There's a lot of things to do. The parties are better. The food is better. It's just better. So that's it for now. Bit of a different entry for the vlog, but that's my life in paragraphs. Ciao.